We all make mistakes. And on this episode, we are sharing my 2025 money mistakes so you can avoid them. Hello, and welcome to the Wealth Minded MD podcast with your money best friends. I'm Dr. Brittne Helford.
And I'm Dr. Alicia Taylor.
And of course, we're here to help you build wealth and make good money decisions so you can create the life you desire with more control over your time. Before we dive into the episode, I want to take a moment to highlight a financial planning company that really impressed me, Bonafide Finance. Alicia and I recently met with the founder, Ben Martnick, and let me tell you, his approach to financial planning is different in all the right ways.
Ben doesn't just want to grow your money. He wants to make sure your investments actually align with your life goals. And if that wasn't good enough, Ben is not only a certified financial planner, but he's also one of the smartest people I've met. He's the go-to for student loan strategy and tax planning, two areas most advisors overlook, especially for high-income earners.
Plus, he's fee only. So you always know exactly what you're paying for, and you don't have to worry about his company selling you products or charging you extra fees or commissions.
So if you want advice that's honest, strategic, and tailored to you, check out bonafidefinance.com/wealthmindedmd or click the link in our show notes. Him and his team specialize in helping doctors and high-income earners build their net worth in all the right ways. You can also email him today at hello@bonafidefinance.com. Don't forget to tell him we sent you.
All right, Leisha, there's a lot of life in the streets of Boston, but I want to know what's going on in the dirty South in Atlanta. What are you up to?
It's interesting. I have been traveling a lot this year, and so I am really excited to use the rest of this year to kind of relax and recharge. So I am actually going to take some time off, but not to go on another trip. I'm going to take some time off to spend some much needed time with my family over the holidays. Can't remember if I mentioned this, but my family gets together with my extended family on Christmas. And so it is a very large gathering. And it's usually at one of my aunts or uncles' houses. And this year my parents are hosting. And so my parents are going to have all these people over at their house, and my mom is a little stressed out about it. And by a little, I mean a lot. And so I'm going to take some time off before Christmas and help her set up and kind of make sure we have a really nice Christmas tree and that it's decorated nicely and that we have decorations in the house and help her kind of plan activities and food and that sort of thing. And so I am really excited about that.
Yay. I love that your family gets together. You outlined, I think, in our past episode around this time, how you all give like speeches and a gift exchange, and it sounds very elaborate. So I'm not going to recap everything. If you haven't heard that episode, then we'll leave it in the show notes for you to hear how Leisha and her family does it. But I understand why your mom would be a little stressed. I mean, just given the description that you gave us last year, it sounded like a lot of people, a lot of food, a lot of gifts. I mean, how do you have enough space? Hosting always stresses me out. So I can only imagine hosting for 40 plus people. That you giving me a little bit of anxiety as we're talking about it.
Well, I hear your concern. The good thing is that this is usually with my dad's side of the family, and they're large. There's like 7 of them, 7 siblings. So it rotates, is what I'm saying. And so you host once every 8 years. And so it's not like a every year thing. Now, that being said, they also get together for Thanksgiving. So I guess you're going to host one of those holidays once every 4 years. But that being said, yes, I took some time off. My mom asked me to help her. And one of the cool things about my job is we have a decent amount of vacation time. And usually, as I mentioned, I use that to travel. But one of the things that I am learning is how to better spend money in ways that bring me happiness. And when you think about it like that, or when I think about it like that, usually one of the things that you will hear is spend your money on experiences over things. And I think that when I first heard that, in my mind, I was thinking spend money on more trips, right? I got to travel somewhere to have this incredible experience. And one of the things that I am learning is that experiences, while they can be in the form of trips, they can also just be an experience in the form of more time with the ones that you love. And so maybe that means having a family night with your friends or your siblings, right? That's an incredible experience. Maybe that means going out to eat with your friends. And so it doesn't always have to be a travel experience. Sometimes it can be an incredible experience that you curate home. And so I'm learning that. And I'm also learning that sometimes I think about the power of compounding in terms of investing and saving. The more I invest, the more I save, the more that money grows. And I want that money to grow as much as it can. But I think sometimes I personally discount the power of compounding when it comes to experiences. And that the more incredible experiences you have, the more those memories and that nostalgia grows, and the more of a connection that you have with your family and friends, and how much more happy, at least it makes me in my life. And so I'm trying to remember those tenets, right? Experiences over things, but experiences can also be me spending more time with my family around the holidays instead of always trying to work more to make more money, to have my money compound. Maybe I need to take some more time off and spend more time with family and have my family time compound. And so that's sort of what I'm working through, and I'm excited about it.
Look at that. The sage Alicia. Drop. No, but I think you raise a great point, and I think we should actually do an episode on some of the data behind how to spend your money to foster more joy. Because to your point, it does say experiences, but they don't say that they have to be elaborate experiences, right? There's also some data that talks about how you can purchase goods in a way that fosters joy. So that's a whole episode. I'm happy to script that episode. So that might be coming to your ears in 2026 as we are creating our plans and kind of reshaping some of our money experiences. I say that last statement about reshaping our money experiences. I want to be vulnerable with you and our listeners, because moving into 2026, there are some money behaviors that I have unfortunately created in 2025 that I want to leave in 2025. So on this episode, I'm welcoming all of your advice, maybe some criticism, I'm open to positive and negative feedback. I know it's all out of love, but I'm going to be honest with you here. And I want you to kind of share if you have any points of wisdom to help me along in reshaping these money behaviors and these money mistakes that I've made in 2025.
Let's do it. I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll give you my advice.
I'm nervous. I'm like, Alicia's going to judge me.
No, this is a judgment-free zone. It's judgment-free zone. Sounds like me when I'm in the room with my patients and I ask them an invasive question and they look at me and I'm like, I'm not judging. I'm just asking.
All right. Listeners, as you listen to my money mistakes, I want you to also think about which ones you relate to most and maybe take that to heart and consider how you're reshaping some of your money behaviors for 2025. Okay, so the first mistake is one that I think we've talked about on this podcast, and this is unused subscriptions. So typically, I am very much like, oh, I don't need that subscription, or I'm going to cancel that before, the fee hits if there's a trial. And I can admit that this year we have subscribed to too many things and I have not used them to their full capacity, maybe just forgot to use them at all. So one is a gym membership. We wanted to do a family swim. We previously had been members at the YMCA, but I canceled the membership because I was seeing that we probably wouldn't take full advantage. I think it was like in August, we wanted to do a family swim. And after that family swim, we enrolled again in the membership. And honestly, we did not use the membership for 2 months. This month, I've used it now twice, and we'll see if I get to go back an additional 3 to 4 times to actually make up for what the membership cost. I've also subscribed to various applications for our children, like Monster Math, this piano app that we have not used. And admittedly, there's one show that I wanted to watch on Hulu. I purchased a subscription to Disney Plus, which offers Hulu. And now the subscription has increased, almost doubled in price since I initially enrolled. And I would say I watch a show on Disney Plus about maybe once a month. I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit bad. I'm feeling a bit wasteful. And I know this is a problem that many people have, but I'll stop there and I'll let you give your 2 cents.
First, I want to give you grace and say we have all done this. I am sure that we have all paid for memberships that we don't use as frequently as we thought we would use when we initially purchased them. Whether that's Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, some apps on your phone, gym memberships, you have it. And I think that a lot of these companies make a lot of their profit by banking on the fact that people will purchase a membership and then not use it, which is usually one of the reasons why they will give you a huge discount when you pay up front or when you pay for the year initially. And so I want to give you some grace and say we have all done that. I have a few suggestions, if you will. One is to see if you can get some of those memberships free or at a discount. Let me give you an example. You mentioned the Disney Plus Hulu membership or subscription. I would have assumed that that's something your kids use and maybe they watch a few shows on Disney Plus. Who knows if that's the case or not? But I do want to mention that one of your credit cards, the Amex Personal Platinum Card, gives you I think it's a $25 or $30 entertainment credit each month, which should cover the cost of Disney Plus Hulu, unless you're already using that credit for something else. Now, you might say, Leisha, I could use that credit to pay for a subscription to the New York Times or the Washington Post or YouTube TV or some other subscription. But I did want to make it known that maybe you or our listeners have a credit card that already offers you that perk. Number two, when I looked in my American Express credit card portal, there was a discount for Disney Plus Hulu. And I think that discount was saving like $10 a month. And so I would encourage you to actually look in your credit card portal because you might be surprised that, yes, maybe that went unused or maybe it didn't get used as often. But would you still feel like it was wasteful if you were paying much less for it? Maybe so, maybe not. But that's the thing. You mentioned the gym memberships. At my job, one of our work benefits that I just recently tried to enroll in was a free gym membership. I did not realize that my health insurance would actually pay for it. Actually, I don't even know if it's my health insurance or my employer, maybe a mix of both. But at my work, we're really fortunate that we actually have a YMCA on the first floor of the building, and it's free for us, which I had just not utilized. And I remember thinking to myself, man, this would be really convenient. I could get to work a little early, get a workout in, or maybe work out during lunch and shower. And so seeing if there is maybe a work benefit or some sort of insurance benefit that can make that membership cheaper. Again, would you still feel like it's wasteful if you didn't have to pay as much for it? Because what I hear you saying is like, I purchased this thing with good intentions. I wanted to swim more, wanted to work out more. Maybe it's not about getting rid of it altogether. Maybe it's about being intentional about using it more and seeing if you can get it for a little less. Another word of advice that I have is maybe putting alerts in your phone to remind you to cancel it if you realize you're not using it. So for me, whenever I sign up for subscriptions, I think I signed up for Peacock because I wanted to watch a football game that was only on Peacock. And at the time, they were offering an annual subscription so you could get the full year for like $30. And I remember thinking, that's a great deal. And so I purchased it. And then I put alerts in my phone because I'm that anal person of exactly a year from the next day in my phone. And then I set alerts with that alert that says, remind me a week before, 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before. So if I ignore the first alert, I got a few other alerts that will remind me, hey, cancel this subscription before the bill comes due. So maybe that might help you as well. I'm going to stop there because I'm just like rolling through things and I don't want to talk too much.
No, these are helpful. These are helpful. I actually wrote down look for Disney Plus because I would still feel bad if I'm paying something and I'm not using it, even if it's like $3. You know, it's just like, okay, this is $3 a month. Granted, when you think about it over the span of the year, it's not that much money, but it's still money that I'm wasting because I'm not using the service. And so it's not providing value to me. I want to focus on value-based spending and ensuring that how I'm spending my money is being very intentional because it's easy as high income earners to make money, but keeping it requires some intentionality. And so I think fostering that behaviors, because I don't want to get into a mindset of like, oh, it's just $3 and then just $3 12 times is like $36 that accumulates. But to your point, some of that intentionality is, okay, if you're using it just once a month and you're paying $3 for watching that show, then not too bad, right? So how can you make it cheaper so that you can get the value based upon your current usage? That is a skill that I will have to start to implement a little bit more in revising how I'm utilizing the credit cards to ensure that I'm maximizing the value of the credit card because that also comes with a fee. Another thing I think I just want to do is I use Rocket Money for the subscriptions, but I want to use it a little bit more. I typically don't go in monthly to evaluate the spending using Rocket Money, but Rocket Money is a service that basically, once you import all of your credit cards, it'll tell you which subscriptions, when they're being paid, what dates they're being paid. And they, for some of them, help you cancel it. So since I'm already utilizing that, how can I again optimize the use of that to foster these better behaviors? So thank you. Thank you, Leisha. I put the reminders, but girl, sometimes I have so many reminders and so many things to do. It's just like, okay, this $3, I'm just gonna have to pay it again this month.
That's so funny. Earlier, and at the time of recording this, I was talking to my brother because we have YouTube TV, which we love because of sports. And they, are in this dispute with ESPN/Disney. And so the ESPN channels got removed from YouTube TV. Usually this happens every year and then they work things out. At the time of this recording, still TBD, but we're recording pretty early. So I'm confident they'll work it out. Anyway, my brother and I love college sports, and so we couldn't watch some of the football games. And I text my brother and I said, "How were you watching the games?" And he said, "Good question. I'm not quite sure. You have any ideas?" And I said, "Well, Fubo and Sling TV." I was like, they offer like this free 7-day trial, direct TV streaming. A lot of these services will offer this free trial. And I was like, "So maybe you could get the trial." And he said, "You know what, Leisha, I'm not even going to do that to myself because I already know I'm going to forget to cancel. And then I'm going to be stuck paying this bill." So he just was like, I'm just avoiding that trap altogether.
Yes, yes. I appreciate your brother sharing that. And, I think it requires us to be introspective about who we are and how we operate, right? And all of us do things in inspiration where, oh, okay, we signed up for this gym membership. I'm going to get myself in shape, not recognizing that you haven't actually been intentional about creating space for you to actually go to the gym. I appreciate that your brother recognized, like, I've done this before. They're not going to get me again, I haven't changed my behaviors yet. So I'm just not going to fall for it. And I think that that is very wise for us to say, okay, how does this fit into my current state of operations for my life instead of my aspirational, like where I want to be in my life? And if you're not there yet, you're just not there yet. So how do you protect yourself against some of the pitfalls of keeping it going? All right. So Leisha, here's mistake number 2. For any of our listeners, Leisha and I have a whole course on negotiating like a boss. We did a master class, and I have a negotiation mistake to admit. And this is not doing enough due diligence before negotiating. So let me give you all a little bit of a backstory here. In this case, I wasn't negotiating a salary at work. Remember, negotiations occur almost every single day in our life. And I, in this case, was negotiating with a landlord. We recently acquired a business, but we acquired the business and not the property. Okay. So the terms of the lease needed to be negotiated with the landlord. And I had done some due diligence. Like I had read this manual about what is needed for these leases for this type of business. However, for details of the structure of the business, like the actual property, I didn't have enough people to help me with this negotiation as far as like electrician, plumbers, HVAC, like all the things that go into, purchasing a property. Like I would do like a home inspection, right? I didn't do enough of an inspection to understand what those costs would be so I could move forward in trying to reduce some of those costs. So that was a failure for me of like not doing enough due diligence before I made that ask. I give myself a little bit of grace that I negotiated many things. Like we got 3 months rent free because we're doing renovations of the space, and I negotiated a decreased rent of a certain value. So I did some things, but I just wish I would have done a little bit more because things are becoming a little bit more costly than I anticipated. So I wish I would have done like a more thorough inspection before entering into that negotiation. So I'm just leaving that one there. That's a money mistake. So everybody make sure you do your due diligence, do your research, take the time that you need to be thorough before entering a negotiation. All right, Leisha, what advice you got for me?
I want to say sometimes great can be the enemy of good, or that saying that done is better than perfect, because I'm hearing you talk about this and I'm like, you did great. You negotiated 3 months rent and all of this stuff. It's like, okay, you didn't negotiate everything that was possible, but you negotiated a lot. And I think sometimes we focus on the things that we didn't do or the thing that we don't have instead of really being proud of what we did do and what we did accomplish. And so in this case, I want to say, hey, I think you did a great job. One of the things that I have learned over time that I think has helped me minimize regret is to ask myself, did I make the best decision at the time with the information that I had?
I love that one. I say that one to myself. So thank you for reminding me.
Because it's like, okay, I could have done a little bit more due diligence, but at the time you had done a decent amount of due diligence and you actually tried to do due diligence and you did the best negotiation that you could at the time with the information that you had. Now you have more information and now you're like, okay, I could have done this and I could have done that, but you didn't have that information at the time. When you were talking about the inspection, I know plenty of people who bought homes and they're like, man, I should have done that extra inspection or I should have done this extra thing. It's like, girl, you toured the home, you looked at it, you had a professional look at it, they all signed off. And unfortunately, something happened that nobody thought was possible. And sometimes these things are just hard to catch. And so it was just like, you know what? Life sometimes things happen unexpectedly. Sometimes we are not perfect. But I think if we're always focusing on the ways in which we're not perfect, we're not really putting a good eye on the ways in which we've improved. And so I want to say good job for what you did do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're making me feel better about myself because as these costs are rolling in, and this is going to be a whole probably series on this podcast, I'm like, maybe I should have asked for more. But one of the resources that I want to give to anyone who is really wanting to bolster their negotiation skills is not only next time Leisha and I do our Negotiate Like a Boss masterclass, because we dropped some gems there, but also maybe making a goal to read a book called Never Split the Difference. That was really informative, and I appreciated the tangible examples offered in that book in a very engaging way that helped me to kind of recapture some of what we teach and think about it differently. That was a very great reminder and helped me to learn some additional strategies in moving forward with this negotiation. So just leaving that gem there. Speaking about never split the difference, that leads me to money mistake number 3, which is splitting the bill. So clearly, the negotiation book didn't help me to establish some of my boundaries. So, Alicia, I don't drink much. Usually when I drink a glass of wine, it just puts me right to sleep. So whenever I go out to dinner, I may have a mocktail, but usually I just have water. Recently, I went to a few dinners, but I was very hungry before the dinner. So I ate like my pre-dinner before going out to dinner. And so when I went out to dinner, it would just be like a small salad or maybe a few appetizers that did equate to a large amount. And then I'm sitting at tables with people who are ordering steaks and like 3 cocktails. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll just split it, 4 or 5 ways. So my money mistake in 2025 is splitting the bill too often when I know that my amount is much lower than what the rest of the people at the table spent. And how can I become more comfortable saying, well, actually, I'll just pay for my own and then you all can split the bill, setting better boundaries when there are social norms and external pressures that make me feel guilty about doing what I want to do myself.
I hear you. This was a big topic on Threads about like if you're going out to dinner with friends, should you split the bill? Should you just pay for your own? And I think part of what complicates things is that restaurants, sometimes it's more cumbersome for them to split the bill whenever you are in a group. And so sometimes they will set rules and say, we can't split the bill. Or they automatically put it on one bill. And then it's kind of a hassle to say, can you split? Can you go by order? And then the waiter doesn't remember or may not remember what each person orders. So then they're going by and people just think it's a huge inconvenience. Maybe it's being comfortable with that inconvenience and saying that is worth me saving money. So maybe that's option number 1. I will say though, that as I have progressed in my career and we're going out to, let's say, maybe more expensive restaurants, there's a part of me that says this might just be a cost of having dinner at this place in this manner and just being okay with that, right? And just budgeting a little bit more and saying, you know what, I'm going to try not to sweat the small stuff. Now, my definition of small and your definition of small might be different, but I do think that to some people, it can get a little penny pinching ish if it's like, all right, your household is bringing in X amount of dollars per year and you are visibly stressed over spending an additional $20. It's like, okay, like I understand the need to save and invest and not wanting to waste money, but is this $20 sort of worth the angst? I am personally dealing with that by trying to just get better and more comfortable in that situation, and asking myself, am I being too frugal? And sometimes I don't think about it in that way. It's just like, I like to optimize things. I am an optimizer for sure. And even though I don't have a strict budget, I do have like, this is X amount of dollars that I want to spend on this thing and X amount of dollars that I want to spend on that thing. And so sometimes if I spend even $5 more, $10 more, it just kind of causes me a little anxiety. And so I'm trying to get better at saying, Alicia, you can afford this. Your needs are met. You have more than enough to cover your bills. You have so much excess that you can save X dollars a month and invest X dollars a month. And so maybe you just need to build in a better buffer so that these things don't bother you as much. And contrastly, if you can't do that, then maybe it's going out to eat a little less. Maybe instead of it being twice a month, it's once a month. Maybe instead of us going out to eat, I just go over to their house or I'm hosting at my house. And so then we're able to better control costs a little bit. And I don't really have advice in terms of like giving you the to like speak up and say, I'm just going to pay for mine. I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe there's a different way you can approach it and being a little bit more flexible in how much you spend in those situations so that it just doesn't bother you as much.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And to your point, like $20 does not break the bank. And so it's being internally comfortable and setting your own expectations of what this moment means for you. Like maybe it's more than just the physical purchase of cocktails and drinks, and I mean, cocktails and food, but it's the social connection that you're able to foster. And like, what is the value of doing that and not disrupting those relationships? And for anyone who's like, well, I'm just tired of splitting the difference because my friends, they go too big. And Leisha, I appreciate what you said of instead, maybe we have food at home or we do a potluck, something else that you can kind of take control over those costs. And I appreciate all of that. The only other thing that I would want to say is like sometimes people fall into these habits of people pleasing. And if you see that that is something that is happening, that's typically not the case for me. But if that is something that you find is happening for you, then setting up a boundary is really important. Also, what I find, Alicia, you can correct me if you have this same experience or I'm just completely off target, is because I'm a high income earner, because we talk a lot about finances, you know, we have podcasts, YouTube, we're all on social media. Sometimes I find that people count my money for me and they say, well, you're a whole doctor, you're married to a whole doctor, you all are doing well. Like, you could just do this. Like, don't be cheap, you know? And I'm like, well, this is something that the reason why I got that way is because I'm intentional about my spending, because I have set up these boundaries. And don't count my paycheck. Like, don't count my finances. Who are you to tell me how I should spend? So that's kind of where I'm coming from too. It's like, okay, I hear all of that. And so maybe there's some reframing that I can do about just the value of having the social connections. And while that is the case, I still need to be very protective and intentional to not allow external pressures to push me in one direction, which I don't really want to go, because if I continue in that way, it's not just going to be Brittne being cheap about $20. It's going to be a lot more than that.
I hear what you're saying. I think you have valid points, and that sometimes it's not about being cheap. It's just about not being wasteful and spending money in ways that don't bring you joy. And by that, I mean you're paying for somebody else or subsidizing somebody else's drinks that you didn't drink or somebody else's meal that you didn't eat. What I also hear you saying is that this notion of, well, it's just $20, you can afford it, sometimes rubs you the wrong way because it makes you feel like people are counting your pockets and encouraging you to waste money because you, in their mind, have more money to waste. So I get where you are coming from. I think there's a balance. I don't think anybody loves when it feels like somebody is counting their pockets, but maybe that's not what they're trying to do. Maybe sometimes it's just a reminder of don't sweat the small stuff, and that's their way of saying it. Who knows what their true intentions are? I think when that happens to me, it just makes me wonder, like, maybe I could do a blend of all the things. Maybe I could set a challenge for myself that, okay, this time when we eat dinner, if it's a restaurant that we can split the bill, I'm just going to say I'll pay for what I ordered. And I'm going to challenge myself to have the courage to say that without feeling bad about saying that. So maybe I'm going to do that one time. Maybe the next time before we go out, I'm going to already have in my mind, we are going to split the bill and I'm going to budget a little bit extra this time so that we can split the bill. And maybe it is the next time, hey, ladies, instead of us doing a happy hour or instead of us going out to dinner, why don't we go to your place and I'll bring a bottle of wine or I'll bring something to your house and let's have a girls' night. You know, my friends and I, we have a blend of all of that. We'll do happy hour, we'll do brunches, but then we'll also go over someone's house and we take turns of who's hosting so it's not too much burden on one person. And generally speaking, I bring wine whenever I go to someone's house, but I'm getting more cognizant now that not everybody drinks. And so one of the things that I've been trying to do is when I go to the store and get wine, I'll usually get a non-alcoholic version too. And sometimes it's not the same, but at least people know that the effort is there. So that I'm not creating this culture where we just get together and the only thing we do is drink, or one of the main things that we do is socialize around alcohol. So I'm trying to like break that habit as my friends are getting pregnant, and sometimes they don't want to say that they're pregnant too early, but I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that they're trying to get and all of this stuff. So anyway, you're like, yeah, I get it. So I'm basically trying to do a blend of it all. And I think that maybe that might be a suggestion for you too. This day, I'm going to speak up. The next day, I'm going to budget a little bit more and try to challenge myself to not get frustrated. The next time, I'm going to suggest that maybe we just go somewhere else where we don't have to worry about splitting the bill.
I like that balance. All right. Speaking of balance, that's my mistake number 4. I don't think I balanced my plate well enough in 2025. I overcommitted to many things and have not been able to optimize or take full advantage of that opportunity. So sometimes this is just saying yes to too many things at work, yes to seeing opportunities and then accepting them, not fully understanding the commitment that is required in order to make it work. There's like this Harvard Business Review article that says overcommitment is a top burnout cause for many high achieving women. And I could definitely see that. And I think, Leisha, I had given you some advice and about how much you're doing. And we are both very ambitious people and saying no. And I know I've said no a couple of times to you about some opportunities, but still, I feel that between career and side hustles and family life, there are periods of time where I was not eating fresh fruits and vegetables and I was not working out. Yeah. So I'm just thinking about how do I act with discernment to figure out what things I should say yes to, what are the opportunities for now, what are the opportunities for later, and how can I create better systems for optimization so that the things that I am doing work a little bit better on my behalf.
Look, this is a lesson that I think we all have, or a mistake that I know I have had, and I am still working through. So I'm certainly not all wise in this situation. I personally think that I could do a better job of outsourcing. Two of the reasons why I have been hesitant to outsource tasks and remove things from my plate is, one, it's so important to me that I want it done a certain way. And I feel like other people may not do it as well as I could. And sometimes if I'm telling other people or delegating it, then it takes time for me to teach them. I'm just like, this is also exhausting. And so I just rather do it myself. But the other thing is that sometimes I have this mindset of, why am I paying somebody to do something that I know how to do? And so it's this mindset of frugality, because I think that before I reached the level of financial wellness that I'm at now, in order to get to where I was, I had to not spend money that I could have spent. And so I developed this habit of saving money. And so now I'm at the point where sometimes it helps to spend money to save time. And it just takes a little bit of tweaking because it's a different habit. You know, they say that the skills and behaviors and even investment strategies that it took to get to one level of wealth is very different from what it might take to maintain a certain level of wealth, right? What you do to accumulate things might be a little bit different than what you do to maintain things. And so for me, it's like challenging myself and saying, am I not paying for this because I feel like it's a waste of money? And then unpacking that and saying, why do I feel like it's a waste of money? Oh, because I could do it myself. Yes, but then if I do it myself, then I'm going to be tired, and it's less energy that I'm going to have to do other things that bring me more joy. And so maybe this is money well spent in order to buy back my time. And how much is my time worth? I continue to challenge myself with that. I also think, Brittne, that as we grow and progress, we gain skills, we gain knowledge, we become more proficient and more efficient at things. And I think that people notice. And when people notice your gifts and your talents, they provide or send your way more opportunities. And so I think that the better you are, the more successful you are, the more you get presented with incredible opportunities that maybe years past you would have really coveted. And so sometimes it can be challenging to turn down opportunities that you think are good. You know, that happens to me all the time when I get presented with the opportunity to work more. You know, hey, we'll pay you $150 an hour or whatever, which to some of my family members, that is life changing. They're like, what in the world? They can't even fathom that. But also, what does it take for me to earn that? That's time away from my home. That's time away from my family. That's less energy that I'm going to have for my partner or my nieces and my nephews. And so maybe it's worth that sacrifice. And so I'm just trying to get better. And this may help you as well, of saying, like, it's not all about the money that I can make from this opportunity, and that I'm not saying no for forever. I'm just saying no for right now. And sometimes I think that that helps me, of saying, like, hey, I'm not permanently declining this. I'm just saying it's not a good time. And sometimes the timing is everything. And so hopefully something in my long soliloquy has helped you.
No, it has. Hearing that other people are also experiencing the same plight, and it makes you feel as if you're not alone and gives yourself some self-compassion. You know, one of the things that I would just challenge our listeners is to think about, how can you choose alignment over activity? And I think for you, that's also kind of where you're negotiating as well, is, okay, yes, I could do this and maybe I could do it a little bit better, but what best aligns with my time, my energy, and my goals? Even if someone is doing this good and I could do it great, like, good is enough for me to not have to spend the time and energy. So yeah, I am an outsourcer just because I have so much on my plate. I also feel bad sometimes because the people who I've hired to help me can't help me to the fullness because I don't have time to review or give them feedback so that they can improve. But yeah, this is one thing that I'm just thinking about, of where am I adding the most value, not only to the lives of others, but also to my individual life, and making sure that the activities that I am saying yes to meet the goals that I have, both professionally and personally.
Yeah, I heard someone say one time that if it's not a heck yes, it's a no. And I always understood what that meant, but I think it's coming into fruition now because sometimes I get presented with opportunities that I don't think are bad, but
Hmm.
I'm just like, I'm not enthusiastic about it.
Hmm.
It's like I could do it and I could do it well, and I might enjoy it when I do it, but it's just like right now this feels slightly more like not as excited about this opportunity. I
Yeah.
can't quite articulate why. And so what I'm learning to do is listen to my gut and saying, just say no for now.
Hmm.
Just say no for now. One of the phrases that I feel like you use a lot is I don't have capacity for this at this time. It, I think, is great in that it's like I might have capacity in the future. I also might not, but I'm telling you, I don't right now. People can respect that. I love around this holiday season. This is getting to the let's revisit this after the holidays.
Hmm.
Whenever someone presents me with emails, I'm like, yes, we will table this. Please reach back out to me if I forget. I love that. So then the onus is not on me to remember, it's on them to remember. If this is really important to you, you will reach back out to me after the holidays. Give me a few more weeks of bliss. I don't want to add anything on my plate. So yeah, that's helped me.
Yes. And the one other thing that I would add is sometimes you say yes and you're excited about it, but then you find out that what you actually were excited about is not what it is. And had to say no, after a couple of months of giving it a shot. Okay, this actually isn't working out for me. And I'm sorry that I say yes, but now I'm saying no. And they will find somebody else. And that is sometimes hard to do because you want to be a person who honors their word. Like you want to maintain this, not only a persona, but this reputation of acting with integrity. And now I've learned that acting with integrity is also just honoring myself and what feels true to me. And that has been very challenging for me. But yeah, so I've stepped down from some things that I've previously said yes to, even when I was initially excited. All right. Well, this last one is one that was a first for me in 2025. And it actually cost me like real money. It wasn't that much money, but it was money extra that I had to pay. And that was not paying all of our taxes on time and having to pay a penalty. So this is the first year that we've actually had to pay a penalty. So let me give you a little bit of backstory, people, because I love taxes and we file an extension for our taxes. So that means that September 15th for my husband's S Corp taxes and then October 15th for our personal taxes. And usually between the time span of April to October, I'm able to find some additional savings that in 2023 garnered us this refund. I was trying to avoid giving the IRS extra money, like a 0% interest loan. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to underpay a little bit. So I underpaid by $800 thinking, oh, Brittany, you'll be able to find some additional savings. You always do. And unfortunately, I did not find those additional savings. And we got hit with like $112 penalty this year for underpaying our taxes. So I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, $112 that I'm paying the IRS additionally. If I had given them an interest-free loan for those 6 months, would it have been $112? And it's not a lot of money, but doing this too often can equate to a lot of money.
All right. So let's unpack this. So, from my understanding, even if you file an extension, most people's taxes are due April 15th. If you file an extension, so you don't have to file until September or October, the amount that you would have owed is still due by April 15th. So, you had an estimate of what you thought you were going to owe. But because you filed the extension, you were just like, okay, instead of paying what I think I've calculated, since I'm technically not going to file into September or October, I feel like I will be able to find some deductions from 2024, searching through, looking at tax statements and all of that stuff. So then when we actually file in September, October, the bill will have decreased. Because some people, they're like, wait, I thought you filed an extension. If you filed an extension, it's not just September, October. Why don't you just pay the full cost at September, October? Like, why were you charged a penalty? And it's because even though you file in September, October, the amount you are supposed to pay is still due by April 15th. And I understand your background. One of the sayings that I read in a book I was reading is that all behavior can be explained with the right information. When people oftentimes have differences of opinions, oftentimes it's just people with different experiences just talking over each other. And so if you can understand their experiences, you can oftentimes understand their behavior. And I'm saying this in this context because understanding your experiences of, hey, the last year in 2024, when I filed my taxes for 2023, we were given such a large refund that I thought to myself, I gave the government an interest-free loan. Because of that experience of giving the government such a large interest-free loan, you said, I really want to avoid that. And so then you went through links this year saying, I'm going to underpay by a little bit so that I could potentially avoid that interest-free loan. And I'm just giving you grace and saying that I understand your behavior. And so although it is technically quote unquote a mistake because you paid a penalty, the behavior makes sense.
Okay, I hear you. I appreciate all the grace that you got to give me today.
It's interesting. I'm just trying to think again, what could you have done differently to get a different outcome? And it seems like each year, in the past at least, you have found additional deductions that has changed the amount you owe. So it almost makes me think that if you knew all of the deductions earlier, you would have a more accurate picture of what you owe and you could avoid underpaying in this year or overpaying, as in the case of last year when you had the refund. And so it might just be the solution to this problem is better accounting methods, right? So that then you're not underpaying or overpaying. I do want to give you some grace. A lot of people who have lots of side gigs with variable income, they have a hard time getting it exactly right. Even some of the smartest people that I know when it comes to taxes, some years they overpay a little bit, some years they underpay a little bit. And it is just the name of the game because it's kind of a guessing game. Sometimes you don't know exactly what the income is going to be. So I want to give you some grace in saying this is difficult stuff and it is not abnormal to get things off a little bit. And $112, I'm like, girl, that wasn't that big of a mistake. You had 6 more months to pay it. But I do think that maybe better accounting methods, now that's easier said than done, right? That means you got to get the receipts to them and keep better tracking and all of that stuff. But if it bothers you that much, as it seems like it does, then maybe investing in a little bit more accounting methods and seeing like, how can I make this easier on myself?
No, you hit the nail on the head right there with the better accounting methods. And so that's a conversation that I've had with my husband because I help to manage the finances of his private practice as well, but I'm not involved in every single aspect. So where there are things that I have to review and sometimes I'm behind on his stuff because I'm not actively doing it. For other businesses that I have, as I said this morning, like there are all these like open loops that I haven't closed yet as far as, oh, I still need to document this. And I have a better awareness of what things have and have not been documented and accounted for in the bookkeeping. And to your point of, okay, these are things that I can do. These are things that I should do. I can pay somebody to do them, but then they still are going to miss some things. And so that's kind of where I am with the bookkeeping, especially for my husband, because I'm much more inclined to question and say, oh, baby, you went out of town for this conference. Which credit card did you use? And sometimes I use a personal credit card. And so I have to go back and do an accounts payable. But I know that the bookkeeper is not going to ask those types of questions. Maybe I can create a list of questions to ask Kevin about his behavior so that the bookkeeper can do a better job. But then somebody has to provide them with the information. So all of that to say, I agree with you. Better accounting methods are definitely needed and can reconcile this issue. And how can we create better systems so that it will be easier for us to do and accomplish this task? And then how much do we want to pay somebody? Because for a bookkeeper, it averages about $350 to $400 a month. So do I want to pay somebody extra that amount per month, even if it is a business expense and deduction to do that work? Something that I'm thinking about.
You know, I heard this saying one time that said every inefficiency is the result of a missing system. And so I totally agree with you. The other thing I was thinking about is maybe it's about creating time periodically so that this isn't left to the end of the year. Because maybe you are the best person for this job, but then it's like, okay, maybe the business should compensate you in some way to do this so that you can quote unquote buy out 2 or 3 hours of your time once a month to just look at it a little bit more frequently. The other thing is creating a system maybe for your husband in his private practice of saying, okay, for every expense that you have, be sure to use this card. Or once you have an expense, be sure to email me by the end of the week. So then, you know, when I take my chunk of time, I have all of the things right there that I can quickly review. Or when you pay for something, put it in this file so that I'm notified about this thing. But thinking about what is a system that I can create that isn't burdensome for me, but actually makes my job easier. And can I delegate this so that other people can assist me?
Yeah, no, I hear you. So that's one of the things that we were talking about is he has a couple of business credit cards that I try to optimize for points. And I'm like, at this point, let's just forego the points and just have one specific business card for you and one specific credit card for you. And if we miss out on points, then we miss out on points. But you know that this is a personal card and then this is the business card. Because Alicia, you are much better than I am of knowing which card gives what points and all of the things, right? And so I am better than my husband. And just again, not acting in aspiration, but acting in actuality of how does this person operate and which one is going to be the greater burden. And I think to your point, the greater burden is having to do all this reconciliation at the end of the year and basically miscategorizing some of the expenses. But if he only had two cards, a personal card and a business card, then it makes that differential and the decision making much easier for purchases. All right. Well, I didn't put all my business out here.
Well, I do want to say there is an app that can help. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It might be Card Pointers. It will help him figure out like which card to use and like which one gives bonuses. And hey, by the way, there's a discount on this one. So I'm just saying that people have created apps that might help. The other thing is that if you're only going to use one card, which makes things simple by far, maybe just using a good 2x all card, like a Capital One card. They've actually done the head-to-head studies and the analysis that says if you actually get a 2x all card, sometimes it accumulates more points over time than trying to get cards that only give you bonus points in certain categories, because a lot of people have what we call non-category spend. And so when you just put everything on a 2x card, it gives you a lot more flexibility. And so
Yeah.
considering something like a Capital One card, maybe that gives you 2x on personal spend, you can get the business version. Capital One, I like because you can easily share points with people. And so if he needed to split points with his partners or whatever, then he could more easily do that. Capital One can sometimes be a little bit finicky about who they approve. So I'll give you some tips and tricks offline about how to make sure that you get approved for that if he's opened up other cards recently. But that might also be a solution.
I love it. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for not judging me too harshly. Thank you for your grace and also the tips. I think that this episode was very helpful for me. I'm hopeful that it resonated with some of you who are listening. Please feel free. If there's like a girlfriend who needs to give herself some grace or a guy friend who needs to give himself some grace, then maybe send this episode to them, because it's not about being perfect in our finances. I like to think that I am a good steward, but even with me characterizing myself as a good steward, there's still mistakes that I clearly make. And sometimes those mistakes are based on good intention and past experiences. And so we don't want you to be perfect. We want you to be mindful in your decisions. That's why this podcast is called Wealth Minded MD Podcast. And to make those money decisions really honoring and aligning with the values that you have. Well, do you think it's time to talk about some fun money?
Yeah, let's talk about some fun money. What are you spending your money on for fun?
My fun money is not a lot that I spent, but I'm really excited for this time. So I talked about Brooke. I love her. She's my girly girl. She likes to get her nails done. She likes to pamper herself. So I recently went to the spa and I got a facial. And she's like, Mommy, what is a facial? So I told her, she's like, Oh, I want to go. And it's like, okay, well, how about we have a mommy spa day and I'll do a facial for you. And then when I was at Walgreens, they had these nail stickers on sale and they have like little Christmas trees and bows and snowmans. And I was like, oh, this would be great for mommy spa day. So I bought some nail stickers for Brooke and they were like, buy one, get one half off. So she was very excited to see them and I can't wait to apply them to her nails.
Ooh, that sounds great. Okay, help us out. What facial products do you use to do like a homemade facial?
Well, for my 7-year-old, she's gonna get some Neutrogena soap.
No.
I have my little eye patches, that you put under to help to depuff or brighten your eyes. So I think I'll cut one of those in half and put that on so that she just feels like she has something special. But that's what my 7-year-old is getting. She doesn't know what a facial is, so she has no comparison.
Well, you got to make this good. You talked it up so much that now she wants one. So you can't leave her disappointed. You know what I mean?
We can light a candle and then put some like music on. She loves these K-pop. Like K-pop is all the rave. So it doesn't really matter what I apply to her face. It's just the fact that we're spending time together. She loves having my undivided attention. So she'll be impressed. She'll be impressed no matter what.
I love this. What a cute idea for like a mommy daughter spa date. That sounds great. I'm excited. Maybe take some photos for us. Let us know how she enjoys it. Okay, so for my fun money, I think I'm going to go to the movies and try out some new restaurants. It is, the end of the year. I've got maybe some extra credits to use on one of my credit cards that actually gives me some money back when I eat at different restaurants. And so I'm going to try some new restaurants that my brother recommended. He is what I would consider a restaurant snob. Him and my sister-in-law love to go to these fancy, I call them overpriced, but fancy restaurants. So I'm going to try one of them, one of the more affordable ones. Brittne, one time, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, he gave me a restaurant recommendation, and I think he said that the meal costs like $400 per person. And I was like, yeah, I'm good on that. I need something with one less zero. I'm going to try one of the more affordable restaurants. And yeah, I think I'm going to go to the movies. There are a few things that I'm looking forward to seeing. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo in Wicked Part 2. And so I am interested in going to see it. So I think I'm going to watch Part 1 on Amazon Prime, maybe with my family, and then go to the movies and see Part 2.
Leisha, every time we're on the podcast together, you always teach me something new. I am not the person who knows what's coming out when or who's performing where. I have been saying, though, Wicked, like Dunkin' Donuts has like this new Wicked Donuts. I'm in the Northeast. That's like, Wicked is a fan favorite. It was just Halloween, but why are they promoting Wicked so much? Because that movie was made like 2 years ago. And that's because there's a part 2 coming out, duh, Brittne.
Yes, Brittne. And so maybe you can have like a mommy-daughter movie day too. Get her a little Wicked popcorn bucket, do all the fun things.
Very good. I'm going to write that one down and see if she's interested. Thanks, Felicia.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that episode today. As always, please do not forget to reach out to Bonafide Finance if you are looking for a financial advisor that you can trust. He and his team are the one-stop shop for anyone who needs help with their investments, their student loans, or their taxes. So we hope that you check him out. Please consider supporting those who support us. Have a good week.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Brooke. I'm recording a little disclaimer for my mommy, Dr. Brittne Halford, and her friend, Dr. Lisa Taylor. Just so you know, they're not financial advisors, tax professionals, lawyers, or financial planners. Everything you hear is for education and entertainment. It's not strict financial advice, So use your best judgment, chat with a tax professional, and all those other people that you need to talk to. Thanks for tuning in today. Keep cruising on your journey to wealth and wellness. Bye-bye.